Ahead and get started. I need to do share screen with a couple of items. And let me make sure I've got everything here. All right, so let's see. Are you guys seeing my Adobe Rush screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm showing you is the desktop version. Oh, let me start first of all by introducing myself because I don't know everybody here. My name is Anissa Barton-Thompson. I'm a social media specialist, web developer, all-around technologist for the College of Continuing and Professional Education. And we are tasked with creating the marketing materials for almost not quite 40 different programs here in our college. So every program has a different focus, a different audience, and we need to make sure that we're approaching and providing the right kind of information for each specific type of audience that's available. So we have things like project management, grant writing. We used to have our international program. Now the international students have moved into their own space, but we do still provide some resources for them as well. And so we've got a senior learning program called OLLI. Tell your grandparents and your parents about those as well, by the way. And this is kind of an overall collection. Some of it is personal stuff too, but you're seeing predominantly all kinds of content that is a collaborative workspace for me to bring in recorded info sessions, clips from students, clips from professors and faculty members that have contributed. And we use this to organize the information and even simple processes like being able to trim the beginning and ends off of info sessions when we don't need the extra time or the housekeeping information, things like that. So what I really love about this particular application is, first, let me ask real quick, how many of you have used a video editing tool like DaVinci or Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro?
Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro, Jose has used. Anybody else?
Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro as well? What did you think about the learning curve?
It's hard.
It was a little daunting, right? It's a little overwhelming. It's got a lot of tools and a lot of information. Sorry, I'm talking over to the corner of my screen because I have 3 monitors. Let me move me over a little bit. But it's got a lot of information. It is a fantastic tool, but it is a pro tool. And if I want to do something where I just need some simple editing, I need something that's for on the go because it also has mobile components. So I also have the exact same setup on my iPad and on iPhone and Android. So here it is on the iPhone. So I am able, because all of this information is cloud-based, all of it is stored not specifically on one particular machine or device. It is made to sync so that it's made to go. So what I appreciate about this is if I can start a project in the field, if I go to meet a student on campus and record a bit of their information, I can start the editing process on my phone and then continue working on it on my desktop when I get back, or continue working on it on my iPad when I'm, in the car in the ride, and I need a little bit of extra time to get these pieces going. I don't have to wait until I'm sitting at a particular high-end computer with a lot of RAM and so on. It doesn't need all of that. So just to get us started, I wanted to start off by showing what the interface looks like. So I'm going to create a new project. It may take a second for things to load, and I know we have a little bit of a delay from the Zoom recording. But what you see here is it's looking for where are you going to house or where are you going to pull your source content from. So it's going to pull from hard drive, local documents, from your downloads. I have external drives here. It'll also recognize if you're on Windows or Mac, your local music folders, picture folders, and video folders. If you are using cloud-based storage, then it's going to recognize all of those source locations as well. You'll notice on my desktop, I don't have Google Drive connected, but it does also recognize Google Drive as well. And you can even favorite some of your core places to go to. It'll even recognize network sources. And so what it needs in order to get started is a name for the project, Oh, let me start off by saying CSUDH crowd source, since I have a few videos from a few folks here. And it wants to know where is the information living that I'm going to pull my content from, my assets from. So I'm going to go to my Creative Cloud files, and I've already got a folder here for grant writing. And I want to pull in some of the information from here. So I'm going to utilize some of the Adobe stock. Oh, of course it crashed. Let me pull this back in again. And I may need to, I'm going to stop sharing the other items real quick. Just a second. I have a pretty memory intensive system here. Let's see. There it goes. All right, are you guys seeing my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. You know what? Actually, I'll start with one of the projects that I have open already. And start with a blank. So when you type in, you select the folder where you want to have your information be sourced from, and it will bring you to this interface. So the interface consists of a plus sign that allows you to select more media, more assets that you can pull in. That includes audio files, WAV, MP3 files. You can actually record live voiceover content right into the interface so that you can add voiceover as you're going. I noticed that on one of the videos that we watched earlier, someone did a voiceover for, I think, Mark, that was yours, where you did the voiceover to walk through moving through the campus and so on. So those are things that you could do here if you didn't want to do them in the field. And then we have this project assets bin. And this is where we're going to collect all of the information that's going to live in there. So it's very similar to Premiere Pro in that you need to have a collection of things to start with, but you can also literally drag and drop content onto your timeline from your Finder, from your Windows Explorer, and so on. And I'm going to start with this empty sequence here. When you first start, you only have the things that you've selected. If you select nothing, it's going to, well, it won't let you select nothing. It'll only let you at least choose one item to get started. And this timeline here is waiting for some content. So I have my source preview. I have a timeline area at the bottom with a playhead. Here's my playhead here, my project assets, and then a collection of tools along the right-hand side. And what I love about how they did this setup is, remember we were talking about the learning curve that's associated to Premiere Pro. I actually have a Premiere Pro keyboard on my computer here that has all the shortcuts on it. You don't even need to memorize or have shortcuts available, because everything that you mouse over is going to show you a tooltip along with a keyboard shortcut to get to that item. So you'll see on the side here, we've got, we can manipulate graphics. So there's a graphics essentials in a lot of the regular Adobe tools. The effects essentials, all of those panels are actually also in Premiere Pro and After Effects as well. So they should be very familiar, but this is just on a very scaled down, very simplified mode. We also have speed ramping. You can speed up or slow down your footage to fit in a certain timeline or to make adjustments there. And then you also have audio, where you can make adjustments. You can even tell it what type of audio you're going to bring in. Is it voiceover? Is it music? Or is it just the audio track to your video that you've recorded? And accordingly, you can even add background music and have that music auto duck. If anybody's heard that term before, it basically means when you have music playing and then someone starts talking, the computer will automatically turn the volume down on the music so that the person's voice comes through clear. And when they stop talking, the music can come back up. So it will even do that for you. And then of course we have crop, rotate, and transform. And we can do a lot. This is pretty powerful considering how minimalistic this tool is. It gives us a lot of flexibility here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a clip. And before I do that, I'm just showing you, this is just a student testimonial. And it's 1 minute and 58 seconds long. And if I click on these 3 dots here, it gives me options, open or add to timeline. I could literally just click on it and click the add button at the bottom, and it will bring the whole thing into the timeline. But if I only want to just kind of preview it and see what it looks like in advance, I can click play. And I can use the audio
so if you can
at the
just
bottom
give your
to give me an indication of where there's speaking parts and so on. And from here, I can actually use these selectors in Premiere Pro and other video applications. They call it in and out. So the in point is where you start bringing in the part of the clip that you want to use. The out is where you stop using that. So you can actually use in and out points and only bring in what you need from, instead of bringing an entire clip. If it's 10 minutes long and you only need 1.5 minutes, you can go right to that part of it. So
Cal State Dominguez Hills.
I'm going to start from here.
Certificate program.
just say the grant writing.
Okay, so.
And I'm going to use that as my endpoint. And I don't know where it's ending. I'll use that as a trim later on, but I'm going to go ahead and add that to the collection. So she is now on the timeline. And this is what it looks like when there is actual content on the timeline. Down below in the lower left corner, you're going to notice there's some tools here as well. There's scissors where I can split a clip or trim a clip into 2 pieces or more pieces. I can duplicate clips. I can get rid of a section of a clip or an entire clip. I can expand the audio. So you'll notice that it shows the video, but there's a little teeny tiny visual of this audio track. And sometimes it makes it a lot easier to do your editing if you can see the full audio at the bottom. And then of course, I can actually control, there's not just 1 track, but there's actually 4 video and audio tracks on the top portion, including the main video timeline, and then 3 additional audio tracks at the bottom that you can use for soundtrack, for voiceover, and so on. And so you have these additional controls, and the interface will adjust, but you can also give yourself more or less room if you need it, especially as you're adding more things onto your timeline. And by the way, if anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me, ask questions as we're going. I want to make sure that I don't leave anything off. Go ahead, Raven.
You have a quick question, if that's okay. And I might be jumping the gun a little bit. You might be getting to this, but
No problem.
I noticed that in the background of the footage, you do have some background noise. I'm familiar with CapCut and Premiere. I know that there is a way to kind of eliminate that background sound, but sometimes when you do, it gives it this like almost like
tinny.
Yeah, it's like tinny, almost like that underwater kind of sound. So what is the best way to do that
I'm sorry.
through Rush without getting that kind of echoey sound?
So I absolutely love this question because this is one of the things that I wanted to utilize on here. So this is my audio panel right here. And in here, I have the ability to adjust the full clip volume. Right now, it says the type is other, but I actually want to make this voice. And when I make this the voice track, it allows me to do things like automatically adjust the volume, balance the sound if maybe on my audio recording device, I have stereo sound and there's more coming from one direction or another. I can, of course, reduce the background noise, reduce echo, or enhance the speech. And if I said enhance speech, I have the ability to say that it's higher pitch, which would typically be geared towards more female voice, lower pitch for male or you know, I shouldn't say by gender or anything like that, but just to make the adjustment to the type of tone that you want to get out of that. But so let's listen to how she sounds right now.
Anissa Barton-Thompson, and I took the Grant Writing and Administration Certificate program at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
And right there, I'm actually going to split that clip too, because that will be our intro part. And I'm just going to make the audio adjustment on this clip alone. I'm going to say reduce background noise, and it gives me even more finite control over how much it reduces or how little. So I'm going to play it back again with this reduce background noise on.
My name is Dina Saunders Green, and I took the Grant Writing and Administration
A little more
Certificate,
manageable.
Program at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
There's what it sounds
Okay, and
like
how
originally.
did you like the course?
Let me reduce it more and see if it makes more of a difference.
And I took the
There's the
Grant Writing
tinniness that you were
Administration
referring to, right?
Certificate,
So you can
Program
make
at
the
Cal State
adjustment.
Dominguez Hills.
Some of it is you're not going to be able to really do too much about it. It's really going to depend on the overall quality of the audio in the environment where you were. So I know if I'm recording in the field, this is an old recording, and this is way before our current devices and media that we have. This is recorded on an old camera phone and stuff. I mean, on an old digital camera. But we now use, I have Rode wireless mics. Isabel and Mark, I think, used it at one of our events to get some insight, and they have wind noise filters on them, little fuzzies, and this helps reduce it quite a bit. It's a tremendous help. So again, it's going to speak to what is the quality that you bring in and then what you're working with to begin with. But I think reducing it somewhat helps. I'll also try reducing echo as well. Let's hear this again.
Anissa Saunders Green, and I took the Grant Writing and Administration Certificate Program at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Can you guys hear the difference from there? So if we work with that, I think that might do as an option for what we can work with. And I'm going to go ahead and close this down for just a second so that you can see the overall timeline. I also want to bring in a few more items into the canvas. So I'm going to, or into the timeline, I should say. So I'm going to go to your media, and I'm going to tell it to find the folder that I was working with, grant writing. Hopefully it won't crash again. And by the way, speaking of, if you are working, if you've got the project loaded and you've got your initial assets built into your timeline, you're going to see in the upper right corner, as you add items, there's going to be a little blue circle. That blue circle is an indicator letting you know what is the status of the media assets in your project that have been successfully stored to the cloud. So as it's stored to the cloud, that means it's essentially being saved for you. You notice that at no point have I gone to, there's no such thing as a file save. There's no file save anywhere in this. So it's automatically saving as you go. I have had instances where my system got overwhelmed. My iPad got overheated and Rush literally crashed. And when I went back into the project, it picked up right where it left off. So thankfully, it's got the ability to recover.
Is there a way to duplicate a video? A lot of times when I'm working on a video, like in the past, and like, you know, you want to go in a different direction. You're like, okay, let me say what I have here before I ruin this branch idea. So is that possible?
Okay, so it is possible, and I'm going to show that to you in just a second. I want to, since I'm here, I want to go ahead and pull in these assets because it's going to take a second. So Isabel and Jose provided some additional images and video in the crowdsource right before we started this meeting. So I'm going to add them to the front of the timeline, or actually it adds where your playhead is, sorry. So here's the beautiful part. I thought I was going to put it at the front, but it put it at the end of the sequence where I was. And so here's Isabel's video clip, here's Jose's video clip, and here is one of Isabel's photos. Now you noticed in the project bin, they're all vertical, but my video is horizontal. My video is landscape. So I do have the ability, let's see what it looks like. Don't crash, don't crash. I think it's still trying to sync. There it goes. If I want to change this video, change the outlook or change the presentation of it, I can go ahead and change it to vertical display. I might need to pull this one in again. Is it adjusting? Should be adjusting. Let me try that one more time. It doesn't like your video, Isabel. Oh no. And it may be because, granted, we uploaded to Zoom, pulled from Zoom, pulled to Creative Cloud. So we've bounced through like 4 different servers at this point. So but
maybe also because our videos are already vertical, like they're already at 916.
well, it should have already pulled, it should have left it at its 916
okay.
original. So actually, well, I'll play around with it a little bit more. Let me go to your photo came in. No issues there. So, and on static images, you can extend or remove the amount of time that it stays on the timeline. I'm going to move this to the front of the clip. And I can actually use that for an intro. Now, you'll notice that because I made it 9:16, her video is a little bit cropped off, right? I'm going to get rid of the rest of this for the timing. She got trimmed in, she got squashed in, right? But if I take this clip and I go to our auto reframe, let's see. Did you notice what just happened? When I turned it on, you saw this purple bar go across the bottom of the video display, and it's telling you that it auto adjusted. So what it's doing is it's doing a face tracking or like a focal point. It's using AI, artificial intelligence, to actually go and track where it thinks is the most important part of the video and reposition it into the frame. So you never have to worry about, oh, I got to manually shift this over from one position to another, right? So by doing that, now she's in the sequence and she's ready to go. And I want to go ahead and show you a couple of quick things on the transition since I'm here in the effects. If I don't want this to just jump from the picture to her, I can use the dissolve, and it's automatically going to put the dissolve between the first clip and right to her. It can put it at the front, so fade it in. If I don't want it at the front, I have individual control over each transition that's added and also the duration. So I can say I want that to be a little bit longer. I can control it either from the transitions panel or from the actual timeline. So if I want to take a little bit longer to fade in. And that photo looks really static, right? But if I take it, I can click on the image. I can click on the individual video to select it, and I can still see the original framing if I want to make any manual adjustments. On this photo, I want to make this a little bit larger. Oops, sorry. And change where it starts. And then I can actually use a pan and zoom on this. Turn on pan and zoom. Now, pan and zoom only works for photos. It does not work for videos, unfortunately. They're working on it. And then I can tell it, where do I want it to start? And where do I want it to end in the video?
This is really cool.
Right? Kind of fun, right? To have more of that finite control. And if you have different sizes for the start and end, then it's going to almost give you like a pan move, right? Or like an angle. But what I'm doing is I'm cutting off part of this. So let me make this adjustment. So it does pay to kind of run it back and test it and make sure that things are aligned where you want them to go so that they fit within that window. Nope. Let's go up. So I'm a little bit closer, so I can keep playing with it until I get the adjustments that I want. Now, what about if you wanted to add like a title or something onto it? So I'm going to go up here to the graphics panel and add a graphic. Here's the cool part. These essential graphics are the same exact essential graphics that are available to Premiere Pro users. They use some of the same MOGRTs that are available. So MOGRT's motion graphic template are all of these things like titles or transition graphics or overlays. And the overlays have a whole collection of things that are social media driven or like little graphic-y inserts. I'm a big fan of the titles because you have all of these things where you can literally drop in, like, I'll use these for bullet point lists. Hey, here's your checklist. Don't forget, sign up today, turn in your permission slip, whatever it is, right? And all of these are customizable. So if you're dropping in, say, new style, and I'll put this, I'll set this here. And I'll drop in, now I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut to put the dissolve on top of that new style. Maybe I'll extend that over here. And you'll notice that the words new style are highlighted already. And over here on the right side in the graphics panel, it's now showing me what are the things that I can change in here. So I've got the text. I've got some lorem ipsum. So if I needed to drop in a paragraph of information or whatever. I've got the shape, which is the white. So you can turn items on or off. You can change the background color. Oh, why not use 860038? We have all memorized our Toro red hexadecimal color code by now, right? And of course, because we need to be using our Proxima Nova, I've got my Proxima Nova in here. I've got my styles. I can do extra bold. And then I could just start typing in grant writing and administration. Okay. And my lorem ipsum text, I don't need a whole paragraph, but I might put in the web address, grant writing. Okay. And that font size is, of course, way too small. Let me grab that and push it up. Change the line spacing. If I need to change character spacing, I can. Baseline shift, up or down. Change the text color. I'm not using the Toro Gold. I'm sorry, I'm really bad. Text outline if I need it, or drop shadow, right? And so now I've got a customizable setup that I can use. Okay. So every last one of the titles that are in here, whether they're overlays or whatever, you can customize every aspect of the setup, right? And then I'm trying to think, what am I missing from here? We've got overlay. Oh, I need background music. So let's add an audio because I know I'm coming down to time. And it's actually got a pretty decent audio collection that's already built in with royalty-free music. You can import your own as well. But let's see. So they'll let you preview. And I want to find something kind of low key. Okay, I think that could work. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the soundtrack. I'm going to bring the soundtrack back. Oh, yeah, I'm not done. There's one more thing I need to add in here as well. Okay, so here is what it looks like so far. And of course, I can cut down the amount of time that that picture is on there. So here's where the auto ducking comes in. The music was playing and it was pretty loud where she was talking through. And I want to bring that music volume down. So I'm going to tell it automatically recognizes this as a music clip. I see the little music notes on there. It tells me again in the panel here. I'm going to tell it to auto duck. And I'm going to adjust that clip's volume just a little bit. And on the timeline, you guys can actually see where you see the volume cut down where she's talking. So now that's going to sound, let me bring this back a little bit. And everything, by the way, everything snaps too on the timeline. So you never have to worry about repositioning and then trying to fill gaps and things like that.
My name is Dina Saunders Green, and I took the Grant Writing and Administration Certificate program at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
And then the music comes back up. And I have one more thing that I want to add to the end because I know that we're going to be out of time in just a second. We have I try to stay using some of our brand assets as well. And I know that Mila's office has provided quite a bit of assets for our video folks. So I think there is an outro, the intro outro that we can use as well. So I'm going to drop that right in the timeline and adjust my audio soundtrack to match the length of this. You'll notice that it's a CSUDH, but I need some kind of a transition. I don't want it to just jump to her. So instead of doing a cross dissolve, I'm going to come back over to my effects and the transitions, and I can fade to white. So she's going to go white into the Dominguez Hills logo. The logo's cut off. That's not good. Well, I can size it down. And you'll notice, okay, well, that's great to see the logo, but now I've got these black bars on the screen. Well, there's a few more things I can add in. I'm going to throw in a graphic that allows me to just do like a solid background. So I'm just going to do solid, do a search. There's a basic solid background. I'm going to drop that in here as well. And that solid background is just this, it's just white. So because that's there, I'm going to move this up in the timeline. And now it's over the white background. You notice I didn't have to move it all around. It did it for me, right? And then I can make these two the same length. The music can fade out. I just put a cross dissolve on the music. I'll fade the ending clip on the logo to black and the end of the white background to black as well. This one would be to white. So that's going to look like this.
My name is Dina Saunders Green, and I took the Grant Writing and Administration Certificate program at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
So it doesn't seem like it's a big deal for those folks who are creating reels and TikToks and things on their phones, but for folks who have a lot more information or a lot more source video content that's not necessarily coming from mobile, this is a great, easy way to be able to better customize. I love taking like meeting recordings, info session recordings, bringing that MP4 content right in, and then adding things like if it was a Q&A session, adding the questions as title overlays visually on the screen and things like that. So it makes it way more interactive. Now, that's not where it ends. And I know we're coming to time. Not only do you have the ability to create and do your edits here, resize. Oh, and Ramel, your question regarding being able to make different versions. So this was a sequence that we just created. I can take that sequence and duplicate it and then give it different graphics or reframe it, resize it. I typically work with the horizontal version first, duplicate that sequence once it's completely done, and then make a duplicate of that sequence and then do the reframe for the vertical. So that, hopefully that answered your question. I saw the thumbs up, thank you. And then the last thing you want to do, of course, is to be able to share it right to your platforms. So you've got a couple of options. The default is that you can save it to whatever file name you want to save it in, whatever folder location, network or so on. And it's going to give you a preview or an estimated file size, so you know exactly how much space it's going to take. But you also have the ability to say, no, I need it to be higher quality, or I need it to be specific to a particular platform. And of course, based on that, you'll also notice that if you have your YouTube channel available, and I'm not sure how many of you are recording YouTube. We do YouTube. We have a YouTube channel for our continuing education for our OSHA Center and our OLLI program. So I can literally tell it which channel I want to save it to, which playlist, give it a title, give it a description, tell it if it's public, if it's going to be premiere, and so on. And then also, again, have those same advanced details for the quality level. And I can even go in and say, what is the thumbnail that I want to use? Set current frame. So now that's going to be the thumbnail image that automatically gets uploaded to YouTube as well. I can also have it saved to Facebook. And if you sign in and you have multiple channels, then you can choose which page you want to go to Instagram as a reel, but they will tell you, please go ahead and shift over to your mobile device and load rush there, and it'll already be ready to export. And then on here, it has Behance for anyone who is working with Adobe content as well. You'll notice that TikTok is not on this list. However, it is on the mobile device, on iPad, iPhone, and Android. So TikTok is also an option here, and you'd sign into your TikTok account, and it will remember your last sign-ins as you go through. And I don't know how many people know this, but there is a TikTok app on desktop. So I'm not sure if I'm sharing this right now. Here's TikTok app as well. And it has the upload. So if you stored it locally on your desktop computer, if you edited and stored on your desktop, then you can upload to TikTok without having to go to a mobile device. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
No, I've been influenced, Anissa. Thank you so much. I myself